We usually operate under the assumption that a police report is the definitive objective truth of an accident, is the official record, right?
Mhm.
But this deep dive into an article from Cave Law suggests that, especially in winter conditions in places like Aurora, Colorado, that report is often just a blurry snapshot. And we're on a mission today to understand why these official documents are often so flawed, how they dictate your insurance outcomes, and the forensic process used to actually correct them.
Yeah, it's great to dive into this. It sounds counterintuitive because we rely so heavily on these documents to settle disputes. But you really have to consider the environment. You've got an officer arriving at a crash scene where adrenaline is high, visibility is low, it's freezing cold.
I'm just trying to deal with the chaos.
Exactly. Their primary goal isn't forensic reconstruction, it's clearing the road to prevent a secondary pileup.
So they are basically prioritizing safety over paperwork accuracy.
Which is completely necessary, but it means the report is often scribbled down in 10 or 15 minutes. For an insurance adjuster, however, that report is the baseline reality. I mean, they weren't there. If the report says you were at fault or that the road was dry when it was actually covered in black ice, that becomes the truth the claim is based on.
And the source highlighted some surprisingly specific errors that come from this rush. We aren't just talking about typos. We're talking about officers listing the wrong lane or even the wrong direction of travel.
Or missing the environmental context entirely. If the report simply states vehicle A rear-ended vehicle B, it implies driver negligence. If it fails to note that the lane markings were covered by snow or that visibility was zero, the actual reason for the crash is lost.
You basically go from being a victim of the weather to a bad driver in the eyes of the insurer.
Right. And things like incomplete witness statements only compound the problem.
That distinction seems huge for liability. But there's another layer here that stood out to me from the article, the walk-it-off trap.
Yeah, this is where biology works against the legal record. In the moment of a crash, your adrenaline is spiking, which effectively masks the pain. A driver tells the officer, "Hey, I'm fine," and the officer marks, "No injuries on the report."
But then 6 hours later, you can't even turn your neck.
Precisely. The problem isn't just that you're hurt, it's that you now have a medical reality that contradicts the official government record. Insurance adjusters love that gap. They can argue the injury happened after the event because that 10-minute snapshot says you were perfectly healthy at the scene.
So if you find yourself with a report that says you were fine when you weren't, or claims you were in the wrong lane, how do you actually fix it? I assume you can't just call up the precinct and ask them to delete the errors.
No, you can't strike the original report from the record. It's an official piece of evidence. Cave Law explains that the forensic strategy is to file a supplemental narrative. This is crucial because it forces adjusters to weigh two conflicting documents rather than just treating the police version as the default truth.
But you need hard evidence to back that supplement up. You can't just say, I didn't do it.
Right. You need objective data that freezes the moment better than a rushed notepad. Dashcam footage is obviously the best, or bystander videos and photos, but the article also points to the physics of the crash site itself. Diagrams of skid marks, for instance.
How does a drawing of skid marks override an officer's official statement, though?
Because skid marks reveal reaction time and momentum. If the physics show you braked early, it proves you were reacting to a hazard, like black ice or a sliding car, even if the officer didn't see it or write it down. It provides a forensic narrative that fills in the blanks of that blurry snapshot.
Okay, so that strategy makes perfect sense for a standard car accident. But the source warns that if you apply that same timeline to a crash involving public transit, like a city bus or a train, you might already be too late.
Yes, this is the critical public transit curveball. When you're dealing with municipal vehicles, the data trail is entirely different. It's not just about the crash site anymore. You're looking at driver logs, duty schedules to check for fatigue, maintenance history, and onboard video.
But there's a massive legal constraint there too, right?
Right.
With the reporting timelines.
A huge constraint. Local agencies have much tighter timeframes for reporting claims than standard car accidents. It's called a notice of claim. In many jurisdictions, you have a very short window, sometimes as little as 180 days, to file a notice that you intend to claim damages.
Wow. So if you spend 6 months trying to rectify the police report or gathering evidence before you file that notice, you could be barred from recovering anything at all.
Exactly. It highlights why you need to identify the type of vehicle and the relevant laws immediately. You cannot wait for the report to be fixed before acting.
It really emphasizes that the police report is just a starting point, not the final verdict.
It is a human document created under immense stress. It captures the chaos, but rarely the full context of weather or human error.
If a single piece of paperwork written in 10 minutes can determine the next year of your life, it makes you wonder what other official snapshots we are trusting too blindly.